AITA for dating my sister's ex and telling her she's just mad he loves me more? Hi everyone, my name's Emma, and I've been dating my boyfriend Matthew for about 6 months now. Honestly, everything between us feels amazing. He's thoughtful, gentle, and treats me with so much care. For the first time in my life, I truly feel loved and understood. But there's one small detail that turns our relationship into a giant mess. Matthew isn't just some random guy I met. He's actually my older sister Ava's ex-boyfriend. Ava and Matthew met back in college. From the moment they started dating, she was completely smitten. I was still a teenager back then, and I remember how her entire world seemed to revolve around him. She would spend hours talking to me about how caring he was, how he always knew how to make her smile, and how certain she was that he was the one. Ava used to say things like, "Emma, I know I'm going to marry him one day. We'll have a big family, maybe 2 kids and a house near the lake." I listened to her talk about Matthew almost every day, and somewhere along the line, something changed inside me. I started picturing him through her words, the way she described his kindness, his humor, his patience, and I realized I was slowly falling for a man I wasn't supposed to. Every time Ava and Matthew came over, I'd find myself paying attention to the little things he did, the way he smiled politely at my mom, the way he laughed, the way he listened so attentively when someone talked. It was never intentional, but the feelings kept growing stronger. Eventually, Matthew and I started talking, nothing inappropriate at first. Just casual chats about school, life, random things. He treated me like a little sister, and I think that made me feel safe around him. But as time went on, those conversations became deeper. He started opening up about things he didn't tell Ava, and I realized how easy it was to talk to him. Then, a few months later, everything changed. Out of nowhere, Matthew broke up with Ava. He told her he thought it was better if they went their separate ways, no big fight, no dramatic ending, just silence and distance. Ava was heartbroken. I remember finding her crying in her room for days, replaying every memory they had, wondering what she did wrong. And even though it hurt to see her like that, I couldn't deny what I felt deep down, relief. A sense of calm that I didn't want to admit to anyone, not even myself. Because for the first time, Matthew wasn't Ava's anymore. I knew it was wrong to even think about him that way, but the truth is, I wanted him. I had wanted him for a long time. And now that he was free, I couldn't help but wonder. Maybe this was fate giving me a chance. 6 months after Ava and Matthew's breakup, things took a turn I never expected. By that time, Ava had started picking herself back up. She was going out again, reconnecting with her friends, and even talking about new job opportunities. Seeing her smile again made me feel happy, and a little less guilty about the feelings I'd been carrying for months. Matthew and I had stayed in touch all that time. It started innocently, short texts, random calls, checking in on each other. But soon those conversations became longer, deeper, and more personal. I realized I wasn't just missing him because of how close he'd once been to our family, I was missing him because I had fallen in love with him. And one night, during a long talk about everything that had happened, he admitted he felt the same. He told me that what he had with Ava was real, but it wasn't right. That with me, things felt easy, natural, and that for the first time in a long while, he felt at peace. That was the night we decided to give us a chance. For the next few weeks, our relationship blossomed quietly. Matthew treated me like I was the most important person in his life, thoughtful texts, surprise visits, late-night calls where we talked until sunrise. He made me feel safe, loved, and seen in ways I'd never experienced before. But he also made one request. He asked me not to tell anyone, not yet. Matthew said it wasn't the right time to tell my family, especially Ava. He didn't want to stir up old emotions or be the cause of more pain. "Let's just keep it between us for a while," he told me. "Your family needs time." I understood his reasoning, but every day, keeping that secret felt heavier. I hated sneaking around, pretending there was nothing between us. And more than anything, I didn't want to build a relationship on lies. So one evening, I made a decision that would change everything. Ava was doing well, and I convinced myself she'd moved on. I told myself she'd understand that love doesn't follow rules, and that maybe she'd even be happy for me. Against Matthew's advice, I decided to tell my family the truth. The night I told them is one I'll never forget. We were all sitting in the living room, Mom, Dad, and Ava. I took a deep breath and said it. "I've been seeing Matthew, for a while now. We're together." For a few seconds, the room went completely silent. I could hear the ticking of the clock, the faint sound of cars outside, everything except their voices. Then Ava's expression changed. Her eyes widened slightly, and she just sat down. Her hands were trembling, and she stared at me like she didn't recognize the person standing in front of her. I expected her to yell, to scream, but she didn't. Tears slowly rolled down her cheeks, and she looked away. That silence hurt more than any words could. Then came my mom's voice, loud, sharp, and filled with anger. She started screaming at me, asking how I could do something so heartless to my own sister. She said I'd betrayed Ava, that I'd crossed a line no sister should ever cross. I tried to explain that it wasn't planned, that love just happened, that Ava and Matthew's breakup wasn't my fault. But Mom wouldn't let me speak. She called me selfish, cruel, and said I'd embarrassed the entire family. Dad didn't yell, he just looked at me with disappointment in his eyes and said words I'll never forget. Maybe you should leave, Emma. You've done enough damage. I felt my whole world collapse in that moment. My heart was pounding so hard it hurt. I tried to reach out to Ava, but she just stood up and went to her room without a word. I left that night. When I got home, I thought the worst was over, but it wasn't. My phone started ringing nonstop. It was my aunt. For a brief moment, I thought maybe she'd call to comfort me, to help me make sense of everything. But instead, her voice came through the phone, furious and trembling with rage. "How could you do this to your sister?" she screamed. "You destroyed her. You've ruined this family. I will never forgive you, Emma. Never." That night, I broke down completely. I felt like I'd lost everyone, my parents, my sister, my relatives. I was the villain in everyone's story. But in the middle of all that darkness, Matthew was there. He showed up with takeout, wrapped his arms around me, and told me everything would be okay. He said love isn't always easy, that sometimes it means standing against everyone just to be together. And maybe he was right, because even after all the chaos, all the pain, when I looked at him, I still felt like it was worth it. His love became my comfort, the only thing that kept me going when everything else had fallen apart. For the next few weeks after that night, I had no contact with my family at all. Nobody called, nobody texted, it was like I had just stopped existing to them. The silence was painful, but also peaceful in a way. I didn't have to hear my mom yelling or feel the weight of my dad's disappointment. I tried to focus on my relationship with Matthew, to tell myself that love was enough, that as long as he was there, I could survive anything. But deep down, I missed them. I missed my mom's calls, my dad's quiet advice, and most of all, my sister Ava. I missed having her to talk to, laugh with, and just be around. She wasn't just my sister, she had always been my best friend, my biggest supporter. And now, she hated me. One day, I got a call, from Mia, Ava's best friend. For a second, I thought maybe she was calling to talk things out or help us fix things. But the moment I answered, she started screaming at me. She called me disgusting, heartless, a homewrecker, and a few other names that I can't even repeat. She told me Ava had been miserable ever since finding out and that I had destroyed her completely. I hung up the phone in tears. Her words cut deep, not because of what she said, but because part of me feared she might be right. But after that call, the silence returned. No one from my family reached out again. Weeks turned into months. I tried to move on, but I couldn't stop thinking about them. Every holiday, every weekend dinner I wasn't invited to, every picture I saw of them together, it hurt more and more. I realized that even though I had love, I didn't have peace. So one evening, I finally decided to reach out again. I called my mom first, but she had blocked my number. Then I tried Ava. Same thing. My heart sank, but I didn't want to give up, so I called my dad. And this time, he answered. The moment I heard his voice, I broke down crying. I told him how much I missed everyone, how sorry I was, and how I just wanted a chance to make things right. But his voice was cold and distant. He said he was disappointed in me, that he couldn't believe I'd hurt my own sister that way. He said he didn't want to have anything to do with me anymore. I tried to explain that I didn't mean to fall in love with Matthew, that I never wanted to hurt Ava. I told him I'd do anything to earn their forgiveness. That's when he said something that shattered me. If you want forgiveness, Emma, leave Matthew. My heart stopped. I begged him not to make me choose between my family and the person I love. I told him how happy Matthew made me, how much he cared for me, how different it felt to finally be loved the way I always wanted to be. I even asked him, don't I deserve to be happy too? He was quiet for a moment, then he said, you do deserve love, Emma. But not like this. Not by breaking your sister's heart. The way you found it was wrong, and until you fix that, nothing will ever be right. And then, he hung up. After that, my aunt called. She said the same thing my dad did, that if I truly wanted my family's forgiveness, I had to end things with Matthew. But I couldn't. I told her I wasn't going to walk away from him, not after everything we'd been through together. So I didn't. For the next few months, I had no relationship with anyone in my family. No calls, no visits, nothing. I heard bits and pieces through my cousins, mostly about Ava. They said she'd been doing better for a while, but then she fell apart again. They said she was quiet, withdrawn, and rarely talked about what happened. Hearing that broke me all over again. I never wanted to destroy her. I just wanted to be happy too. I convinced myself that maybe, with time, she would heal, that she'd move on, and one day, she might even forgive me. I truly believed that with time, Ava would forget about Matthew, and maybe, she'd start to see that my love for him was real. Months passed after that last phone call with my dad. The silence between me and my family had become something I was almost used to, but never comfortable with. I tried to convince myself that things would eventually get better, that they just needed time. Then one afternoon, I got a call from Hannah, my cousin. She was the only one in the family still talking to me, even if it was just occasionally. She mentioned, almost casually, that Ava's birthday was coming up, and that my parents were hosting a small get-together for her at the house. The moment I heard that, something inside me stirred. Maybe it was hope. Maybe it was desperation. I thought, what if this is my chance? What if I showed up, apologized in person, and proved to everyone that I wasn't the villain they thought I was? Matthew, of course, told me not to go. He kept repeating, "Emma, please, this isn't a good idea. They're not ready to see you yet. You'll just make things worse." But I didn't want to listen. I truly believed that if I showed up on Ava's special day, she'd finally forgive me, that she'd see I was trying to fix things. So, I went. I dressed nicely, bought a small gift for Ava, her favorite perfume, and drove to my parents' house with my heart racing. The moment I stepped inside, I could feel the tension in the air. Conversations that had been loud and cheerful suddenly quieted down. People turned to look at me, their smiles fading. My dad's face went pale. My mom froze mid-conversation. And Ava, she was standing near the cake, laughing with her friends. But when her eyes met mine, the laughter died instantly. Her smile disappeared, and the look in her eyes, it wasn't anger. It was pain. The kind of pain I thought time had healed. In that moment, I realized Matthew was right. I shouldn't have come. Before I could say anything, my mom stormed toward me. There was no hesitation, no warning, just the sharp sting of her hand connecting with my cheek. She slapped me, hard, right across the left side of my face. Everything around me went quiet. My head spun, and for a second, I couldn't even process what had just happened. The mother who had always protected me, who never raised her voice at me, had just hit me, and she'd done it in front of everyone. I felt my whole body shake. Tears welled up as I screamed, "How could you do that, Mom? How could you hate me this much? Was your love for me ever real? I'm still your daughter. You raised me with love, with kindness. Why does that not matter anymore?" Her face was red with anger and tears. Her voice broke as she yelled back, "Yes, Emma, that was my mistake. I raised you like a flower, and I should have known flowers can still carry thorns. What you did to your sister is unforgivable. You betrayed her. You betrayed this family. And I will not let you destroy her peace again." The guests were silent, whispering among themselves, unsure of what to do. I turned to look at Ava. She was standing there, frozen, her eyes glistening. I ran toward her, my voice trembling. "Ava, please, it's been months. Why can't you forgive me? I'm your sister. I love you, and I didn't mean to hurt you. Why are you still acting like I ruined your life?" Ava took a shaky breath, her lips trembling. Then, in a soft, broken voice, she said, "Because you did, Emma. You broke my heart more than Matthew ever did. I could have forgiven him one day, but not you. Never you." Her words hit me harder than the slap. Something inside me snapped, all the guilt, the pain, the rejection boiled over into anger. My voice rose as I shouted, "You're just jealous, Ava. You can't stand that he chose me over you, that he loves me more than he ever loved you." Gasps filled the room. My mother's face turned red with fury. She didn't even think this time, she slapped me again, harder than before, then grabbed my arm. "Enough," she yelled, her voice echoing through the room. "You've said enough, done enough, heard enough. Get out. And don't you dare show your face here again." She shoved me toward the door as I begged her to listen, but she wouldn't. My father didn't say a word. Ava just stood there, tears streaming down her face. As I walked out, my cheek burning and my heart shattered, I looked back one last time, hoping someone, anyone, would stop me. But no one did. That was the night I realized, in trying so hard to prove my love, I'd lost everything else that ever mattered. After that birthday disaster, something inside me changed completely. For the first time in my life, I stopped trying to win my family's love. I was done crying for people who clearly didn't care how much I was hurting. I told myself that if they didn't want me in their lives, fine, I'd build my own. So I focused on my relationship with Matthew. We moved in together, started new jobs, made plans for the future. For a while, things actually felt peaceful. It was just the two of us against the world. But peace never seems to last in my life. One afternoon, a few months later, my phone rang. When I saw Hannah's name flash on the screen, my heart stopped. It was the first call from any family member since Ava's birthday. For a second, I thought maybe, finally, someone was ready to make peace. But as soon as I answered, I realized how wrong I was. Her voice was cold. "Emma, I thought you should know something." My chest tightened. "What is it, Hannah?" She hesitated for a second before saying, "Grandma took you out of her inheritance." I froze. "What? Why would she do that?" "She said she doesn't want to leave anything to someone who betrayed their own sister," Hannah said bluntly. "Everyone knows about it, Emma." They all agreed with her. I couldn't even find words. I'd always been Grandma's favorite. She used to spoil me, defend me, call me her little sunflower. Hearing that she'd cut me off like that felt like another door slamming shut. But Hannah wasn't done. She sighed. "Also, I think you should know Ava's been going through therapy. She's still dealing with panic attacks, because of everything that happened." I gripped the phone tighter. "Because of me? Who else, Emma?" she snapped. She can't even hear Matthew's name without breaking down. "Do you realize what you did to her?" Tears burned in my eyes, but I stayed quiet. Then Hannah said something that completely broke me. "You know, the only reason I even talked to you after all this was because I felt sorry for you. But after what you did at Ava's birthday, showing up there like that was pure evil. You proved you don't care about her at all. If you did, you would have stayed away and let her have one peaceful day. But you just had to ruin it." I could hear the disgust in her voice. "Before hanging up," she said, "this is the last time I'm calling you. I just wanted you to know, even Grandma hates you now. Everyone does." And then she was gone. I sat there in silence, staring at the wall, my phone still in my hand. I felt my chest tighten until it hurt to breathe. I cried until I couldn't anymore. In that moment, all the anger and pride I'd been clinging to cracked open, and all I could think was, how did I get here? Part of me wanted to believe that Ava was exaggerating everything, that she was using her pain to get sympathy, to make everyone see me as the villain. But another part of me, the small, honest part one kept trying to silence, whispered that maybe they were right. Maybe I really had ruined everything. That night, I lay in bed beside Matthew, pretending to be asleep while my mind replayed every moment, Ava's tears, my mom's slap, my dad's disappointment, Hannah's words. For the first time, Matthew's love didn't feel like enough to fill the emptiness inside me. After that call with Hannah, something inside me went quiet. I stopped crying. I stopped begging for love or forgiveness. I told myself I didn't care anymore. I had Matthew, and that was enough. Or at least, that's what I kept telling myself. But slowly, almost unnoticeably at first, things began to change. Matthew, the man who once swore he loved every bit of me, even my flaws, my chaos, my clumsiness, began to act different. He wasn't as patient anymore. The little things he used to find cute started to annoy him. He'd sigh when I forgot something, roll his eyes when I joked too much, and some nights, when I'd talk about the future, he'd just go quiet. At first, I thought it was stress. Maybe work was too much. Maybe he just needed time. But then came the comparisons. He'd say things like, "Ava never got mad over small things like that." Or, "Ava always remembered to organize things properly." Every time he said her name, it felt like a knife twisting in my chest. I started snapping back, yelling, crying, begging him to stop bringing her up. But it only made things worse. We started arguing more, over dishes, over his tone, over the silence that had grown between us. Then one night, it all exploded. We were fighting again, louder than ever. I told him I was tired of feeling like he still loved Ava. He yelled back that I didn't understand what love really was. And then, suddenly, he just broke down. He sank onto the couch, his hands over his face, crying. I froze. I'd never seen him like that. Through the sobs, he said, "I messed up, Emma. I messed everything up. I thought I could move on, but I can't. I loved Ava. I still do. And now I'm living with the weight of what we did to her. It's karma, Emma. We hurt a kind soul, and now we're paying for it." I felt my throat close up. "Matthew, please don't say that. We love each other, right? You love me." He shook his head, tears streaming down his face. "No. I wanted to love you. But I can't look at you without remembering her. Every time I do, I feel guilty. I feel like the worst person alive." Then he said the words that shattered me completely. "It's better if we part ways, Emma. I can't stay with you anymore. I can't live this lie." I stared at him, numb. "You're leaving me?" He looked away. "I'll never blame you for what happened. It was me. I made the choice to hurt her, to choose you over her, and now I see that it wasn't love. It was just attraction, confusion, maybe even guilt. But it wasn't real." He took a deep breath and added softly, "You know Ava will never forgive us. And she shouldn't. But I can't forgive myself if I stay with you." And just like that, the man I gave up my entire world for walked away. The next morning, his things were gone. He left a note, just a simple "I'm sorry." A few days later, I heard from one of Matthew's friends. He told me that Matthew had reached out to Ava, asking for forgiveness, not to get her back, but to say sorry for everything. He even told our parents the same thing, that they were right, that Ava deserved so much better, that he would live the rest of his life regretting what he did to her. That night, I sat in my apartment, the same one we used to share, surrounded by silence and memories that hurt to look at. I realized I had nothing left. No Matthew. No family. No friends. Nothing. Once, I was the most loved daughter, the sweet niece, the proud granddaughter, the girl everyone admired. Now, I was just a scar on everyone's story. The girl who betrayed her own sister for love. And lost everything because of it. Sometimes, I look in the mirror and barely recognize the person staring back. I thought I was chasing love. But in the end, all I found was loneliness.